Hey, this podcast is brought to you by Parlay Play Fantasy Sports. Use my referral code RotoBrady. Get that sweet, sweet deposit bonus. They got paid contests coming to a state near you. They're giving out boosts and bonuses, slashing lines all day long. Hop in those player prop DFS contests. It's a real fun platform over there. You can follow me on Twitter at RotoBrady as the combat sports action for 2026 starts heating up. You can follow me on Instagram at RotoBrady MMA, and you can follow the podcast at Tap That MMA Podcast on YouTube. New destinations for Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff coming real soon. A lot of rebranding stuff. We'll get into that a little later. But folks, this is another interlude episode of Tap That, and with me tonight,
she wears pink and black. She stands 5 feet 2 inches tall. Her official weight, 117.4 pounds. She holds a combined combat sports record of 6 fights, and tonight makes her BKFC debut. Fighting out of Rock Hill, South Carolina, by way of Cape Town, South Africa. Here is Crystal, the
you heard it there, folks. She comes to us by way of Cape Town, South Africa. She does a little bit of everything in the combat sports world. Give it up for the lovely Crystal Van Wyck. Crystal, thank you so much for being here. How's it going tonight?
Thank you very much. Really appreciate having me on here, and I'm feeling fantastic. And yes, excited for this new year and to chat with you, of course.
Yeah, real quick, how was it that you came to end up in like South Carolina, North Carolina from South Africa?
And so actually I've moved to Tampa, Florida. I'm currently in Tampa, Florida, staying here, but we've been back and forth in the USA for about 9 or 10 years, and from South Africa, and we came back, then we went back to South Africa, we came back. And honestly, the last time we decided to come back was actually because of BKFC. Because I actually really wanted to pursue that, and they weren't coming to South Africa at the time. So I said, well, heck, let me just go, and like for my fight career, it's better to be here. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, like your combat sports career dates back, officially your amateur career started November of 2016. The thing that makes me immediately take notice with you is you seem to understand the branding of combat sports very well. The nickname is brilliant. I assume it's supposed to be said before the entire name. That's when it makes the most sense. But the nickname is brilliant. Even just like the stuff that you put on Instagram, you do very well at making the rounds of like going on different podcasts and stuff. The outfits at the weigh-ins and the face-offs and stuff like that. It's a very different element when it comes to the bare knuckle. Is that something that you've made a point to focus on, like as you get into this? And it's like, well, like, people talk all the time about like, I'll fight anybody, anywhere, and that's all great. But the fact is, if you don't know how to market yourself, that's not really worth that much.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, honestly, I feel the name The Lovely got given to me. I didn't actually come up with it myself, but in the beginning, I was like, I'm not sure about this name, but I'll try it out, and it like honestly stuck with me, and I actually started to more and more as the years progressed. I actually feel like that is like really my fight name, only because I'm very feminine and I'm a girly girl, and yes, I do like the marketing aspect of it, in a sense of I just really like to let people know who I truly am, and that's really how I am in and out of the ring. Well, not in the ring, but well, I don't know.
I mean, you look at people like Michelle Watterson, for instance, the nickname the Karate Hottie was a big thing, and so having a nickname, because how many people have the nickname the assassin, like all that other, like that very cliche kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
You might as well not even have a nickname if it doesn't stick out. So the value of people being, just of people passing by on Instagram or people watching a BKFC card for the first time, if something sticks in their head, there is value in that.
I think so too. That's very true. It's a personality, people get drawn to people's personalities and who they are as a fighter and a person. It makes you unique, obviously, because we're individual.
And that's the thing about bare knuckle, whether it's BKFC or BYB, whether it's dirty boxing is another one that's recent. It seems to allow a lot more creativity to fighters in how they market themselves. Again, I go back to like when it comes to women's boxing and women's bare knuckle right now, it is a whole it's a whole fashion setup just at like the weigh-ins and the face-offs. Like
Yes.
some of the outfits that you see now, they get your attention.
It
Uh,
does.
so, is that kind of the experience you've had since you've been under the BKFC banner? Is like, wow, I can really do a lot here to like grow my name in a short period of time.
Yes, I saw, first of all, fighting bare knuckle just in itself, I really enjoy it. Like, I actually found out of all the mixed martial arts, I'm having the most fun when I'm inside there. So I feel like the outfits and like you get the opportunity to really express who you truly are. As a fighter and as a person, like I really like that. That's a really cool aspect that they allow you to do that, and that's what they actually want. So it's awesome.
And like the first, I think 10 fights of your amateur and professional career, those were either in MMA or I believe there was one Muay Thai fight back in March of 2021. And so, how was it that you even came to the realization that bare knuckle was kind of the place for you? Because I've talked to so many bare knuckle fighters, and a lot of them say, and they all have different stories, but ultimately, they tried a bunch of different stuff, an opportunity just kind of arises for them to fight in bare knuckle. And through that, they say, like, oh, this is what I was supposed to be doing the whole time.
Yeah. So for me, obviously I love MMA. Like I'm not done fighting MMA. But fighting, I did a lot of striking Muay Thai. I did MMA. I've done a lot of things. And then I got a message from Nate Shook one day out of the blue. And he was like, would you try bare knuckle? And that's the first time I ever, thought about it. Sorry. It's the first time I ever thought about it. And at that time, I was actually quite keen. I was intrigued. I did a little bit of research on it. And I was like, this actually looks quite fun, it looks quite intense, but, and so my coaches at that time said, no, you shouldn't be doing this. So I didn't, and I continued to fight MMA. But the one fight I had in MMA, I realized my striking wasn't as good as I needed it to be. I went against a very good chick that demolished me in my in striking, and it made me like want to go do some boxing and go work on my striking. And I was started boxing and working on my striking, and then it came up again with bare knuckle. I saw bare knuckle was coming to Africa, and so I just got back in touch with them and I said, hey, I'm actually interested in doing it now and trying it out. And so there it was, history.
I mean, like you've always done well through your career with like violence and firefights. Like that you're very in your element there. And bare knuckle, I've heard you talk about it on other podcasts. I talk about it on here plenty. It gets this reputation as being barbaric. The facts are bare knuckle is safer than regular boxing. The damage is much more superficial than it is with boxing for a bunch of different reasons. And so, but then it's a whole other sport, it's a whole other skill set. People
Yeah.
might see why, because it's boxing without gloves in a different shaped, in a different shaped ring for the most part. But just like dirty boxing is, and just like karate combat is, there's a reason that people who had a lot of success in the UFC go and try those formats and they're not successful.
Yeah. Very true. So it is a sport on its own, and it took me actually a little bit to figure it out because I realized my MMA striking did me really well in the beginning, and then I went and I worked a lot on my boxing, and I almost want to say it made me develop things for bare knuckle that maybe I need to like tweak now a little again, because it's not boxing, it's bare knuckle. So it's like this is a sport on its own that people are still trying to figure out what is the correct way of training and things like that. But I love how free it is. It's very free, and it's like it's bare knuckle, and it's the best way to kind of express yourself. There's nothing holding you back, and I love how fast it is, and I don't know, it's super exciting. I'm not gonna lie, and it's not. It's like you're right. Like boxing, you can get concussions very easily. Like that blow with the gloves on, you feel the impact a lot more in boxing. So it's a bit different. In bare knuckle, you feel it, but not really. Like you just feel like these blows afterwards. You can look a little bit scary, but that's like 3 days and it's healed. So
And there's a reason that I would imagine at the upper levels of MMA, bare knuckle and BKFC is an interesting problem for a lot of the top MMA promotions to handle, because
yeah,
there's a reason that so many, big investors and big personalities in the sport have gotten involved with it of late, and they put on so many big fights that, they have like a viral component to them, like
yeah,
anything Mike Perry, anything Jeremy Stevens, anything Conor McGregor, those things catch people's attention, and
yes.
it's an alternative for people in mixed martial arts, and it allows people to fight later in their life than they otherwise would be able to in mixed martial arts.
I agree. I agree. It's like for me now, when I watch UFC, it's not as exciting as it used to be. Obviously, I love UFC, big fan, obviously, but it's not as exciting as it used to be. When Conor McGregor and Holly Holmes and all the freaking people that and John Judge, all the people that were fighting and made it exciting to watch. Because people, like I say, they get attached to personalities and character, and so that aspect is so important and makes it more exciting to watch. So BKFC has that element right now where it's like all these different personalities, and even watching the fights is so freaking exciting. I mean, I can get pumped up just watching all the fights. I love it. So
It's there's a quality about bare knuckle, obviously. Like, there's a reason that professional bare knuckle boxing goes back almost 200 years at the major level. There's a reason that some of the first major sporting events ever covered by newspapers were major bare knuckle boxing events happening in 1850.
it's crazy. That's quite cool.
Yeah, it's a crazy part of it. And with the UFC, it's interesting because I believe fighters overall from top to bottom have gotten a lot better. There's a reason we don't see many triangle chokes in the UFC anymore. People are too good at defending them. The issue is, after Conor McGregor, after Ronda Rousey, because you need star power.
Yeah.
The problem over the last however many years is that people know you need star power, and it's almost like too many of it is a little bit forced. Like
True.
Colby Covington is very good at getting attention. You know,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
knows what to say, and the UFC made a really strong push to market Sugar Sean O'Malley as like a superstar, but
Right.
superstars aren't made.
Ah,
They make themselves, or they're born. In a lot of different ways,
true.
and you can't force that part, no matter how hard you try. But someone will come along. They always, this sport is very young as compared to all the other professional sports. There was a period of time in the 1970s where the NBA almost went bankrupt. And so I'm sure that different stars will come up. What'll probably have to change is the way the stars are paid in mixed martial arts. But so, however that ends up playing out, I'm sure it'll take some time, but I'm sure we'll see it be. We also don't see people that seem like gods in there as much more.
Yeah.
I remember growing up and watching GSP and Anderson Silva defend
Oh,
the
that's
title
awesome.
for 10 straight years. And it's like, it just became like, who could possibly beat this person?
I know.
There's not as much of that anymore. And John,
I know. It's crazy actually to think about. But I don't know if it's because everything's evolving, like I said, and people are evolving and people are becoming just so good. too, and when you're that dedicated to the sport, because you have to be really, really dedicated if you want to be a champion and you want to be the best, then I think what happens is some of the personality side could be like diminishing, because to do and to balance that out could be quite difficult. I don't know. Not sure.
Like,
But
there.
they should have people to do that for them. Screw it.
I mean, there's some organic personalities that people absolutely love. I would say like Jiri. Like, I think that guy's just a psychopath. Like, that guy is just absolutely insane. People love him. I love him.
No, that's so true.
And Alex,
Patty Pumlet, you got the people in between. You got that. I feel that.
and it's a feeling out process for the UFC as they try to get into different markets. Like they had the what was the first golden age of African UFC champions. They've tried as much as they possibly can to dig into China and different parts of Asia. I think that like they don't even necessarily know what they're trying to do. I think that like this is guesswork by anybody's estimation. This is all uncharted territory for a sport that didn't start until the late 80s, really, on a professional level. So,
You know your stuff, hey? You know your dates and everything. I'm quite impressed.
yeah, that stuff fascinates me. And the thing is, I'm not a gloom and doomer when it comes to stuff that I love. I love mixed martial arts. I love watching it. I love, going to the gym and learning, little parts. And
Yeah, I hear that. I hear the passion. I love that.
when people say like, "Oh, it's never going to be the same as it was in 2006," it's like, dude, like the sport is like a 30-year-old. The sport wouldn't be able to retire with Social Security for another 35 years. Like, so like give it a little bit of time. Professional boxing goes back almost 200 years. The NFL started in the early 1900s. So did the NHL. There are up periods and there are down periods. And it's
Yeah.
weird because we're seeing this period for the UFC and for MMA. We're seeing it happen in real time every day on social media and stuff, which was never the case for other sports.
Yeah.
Now,
That's also, I agree with it. That's actually, you didn't think about stuff like that,
yeah, I don't, when the NBA was, in its down period in the 1970s, there weren't faceless people on Twitter every day talking about how it sucks now. So I don't know. It's just different. It's different. We'll see. And now the UFC is going to be on Paramount. All these different promotions.
Heard that. I think that's so awesome.
I saw the moment in, I think probably your most recent podcast appearance where you found out about that. The dude said it, and you were like, "Oh no way! I didn't know that." It's like, yeah,
So I was like, oh my gosh.
whether that'll result maybe in more money for fighters, you would hope so. And look, I'm not a person either that is too worried about how much money other people are making. At the same time, objectively, if you want to get top athletes involved in your sport, they have to do that for a living. And it's just going to be very hard when everybody outside of the top 5 names in a sport are making money that not only they can live off of in the meantime, but also they can hopefully retire on and be comfortable after their fighting career.
Yes, very true. Got to think about all those things.
Back like when in the professional portion of your MMA career, you had a few different fights with EFC, a very well-respected MMA promotion out of South Africa. I love the events EFC puts on. I love the champions that move on to other promotions. And South Africa, obviously, I would imagine, had a big combat sports boost in popularity through Dricus du Plessis. There have been plenty of people that have made their way over to the UFC. So what right now, like in your experience with EFC and just, being from South Africa, what is the combat sports scene like there right now? And where do you see it kind of being within the next few years?
So honestly, before Dricus, because I was quite involved in the combat sports world quite a bit, before Dricus made it big. Although he was quite big in the EFC for quite a while, but it's very small there. There's not a lot going on for combat sports, but there are really great things going on, and there are promotions like the EFC that is really like helping the Africans, So and there's some promotions around Africa that is also like quite decent, which isn't bad, you know. And they are actually getting UFC fighters out of there and everything, which is awesome. And I think since Drickus now, it's really picking up because he's actually got his own promotion. I don't know if you know that.
What's it called?
It's called Knox. No, that's his. Wait, that's his energy drink. Well, that's his energy. Wait, I'm not sure. I have to double check on that because I just seen it the other day and I don't know why I've hit a blanks because I'm not sure. It could be Knox Fighting Championships, but I'm not sure. Let me just check on that. But he just started his own fight promotion. And actually they asked me to fight on his promotion. I think they have something coming up very soon. In February, if I'm not mistaken, they have a fight coming up. It could be February or March, and they actually asked me if I would like to be on it, which I would have actually loved to, but I can't right now. I have to stay focused on, you know, BKFC and some other fighting stuff this side.
And I'm
But
looking for what his promotion is, and I can't find it on Google.
did you go? You would have to look on. You have to try to see if you can see. Oh, you can't find it on Google.
I'm like at least not like the first page I'm looking at.
You know Graham EFC, Carmel. He's like the main guy for EFC. He's like really like he arranges and does everything. If you go on his Instagram, you'll probably see all about it there. He's been promoting it quite a bit. But I can send it to you after this. I can send it to you that you know, just to know, because that's quite interesting. So he's starting his own fight promotion, and it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be really, really big. Quite excited for that.
I love when fighters start their own promotions and kind of name it after themselves. Like I love watching Anthony Pettis FC, Uriah Faber A1 Combat. There's Murdoch Professional League. So like I love when it's almost like it's like when a rapper becomes popular and then they start their own label. It's like, all right, that was the next logical move. You know, you can
Actually, you know, actually, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, you might as well.
Yeah, no, I love, and it's typically designed to showcase talent from a specific area. You know, like Uriah Faber, that's showcased in California. Anthony Pettis is a lot out of the Midwest. So
You're helping your area and your sphere of influence, you know, and that is really so important that you can take what you have, like because you in the position to be able to help a lot of athletes achieve what you potentially have. So yeah, I love that. I think that's so awesome to giving
and
back.
Zombie Fight Night is another one that the Korean Zombie has in South Korea. That's a good one. And
Seen that. I don't know if I've seen that actually. I don't know if I've seen that. That sounds interesting. I'll check it out.
Oh, it is. It is super interesting. And like, you know, for fighters coming out of Africa, you know, you've got your choices, you know, like if you're staying around that area of the world, there's EFC, there's PFL Africa, limited opportunities.
They just had a show there in Cape
Yeah.
Town and Johannesburg.
And then like I know a lot of people from that area will also kind of venture over to like Australia and fight with like Eternal MMA.
Dubai, it's UAE Warriors or something.
Yeah, so like there's a lot of options it seems,
Yeah.
but probably not enough still. Like
No.
as everybody talks about Africa, especially as it comes to combat sports, like there's still so much untapped potential in that entire continent.
Like, why hasn't BKFC or the UFC gone there yet?
Yeah, what
You have to ask those questions, and I mean, I know why. I know why, because if you had to do a big show there, it's so small. Are you going to get enough people? There isn't even a venue that could take a big show like that, number one or number two. And if you do get a venue, like, are you going to make money off ticket sales? You know, because now currency is different. You're dealing in rands and not euros and dollars.
I'm sure that is a limiting factor when it comes to like the UFC. Now, like, I think if the UFC really wanted to, you could have because there's so many fighters of so many different national origins in the UFC now. If you wanted to go and put on a fight night in, I don't know, Angola, you could have the one fighter on the UFC roster from Angola headline it. Like, you really could, and I think people would probably.
They're Chris there. I don't know if I would do it there.
There's so many like I don't know the UFC. I can't pretend to be in their head when it comes to like the
Yeah.
business part of it.
So much money that they could just go shebang a show there in Cape Town. That would be great. Maybe they will do it sometime.
And people would love it, and you certainly have enough fighters on the UFC roster to headline it.
Yeah, actually, they actually came out with like a mock UFC card for Africa.
I
And,
saw I
did
saw something like that. I remember.
the girl that I fought that messed me up in the striking, she's on there. She's like 8-0 or 9-0 already. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's some very good people on there. So,
So like as far as like your most recent fight, so it had been about a year since you had a bare knuckle fight. Now obviously this most recent one didn't go the way that you wanted, but what did you take from that performance that you're going to carry with you into 2026?
yeah, honestly, like, I go into all my fights like, woo, like pedal to the metal. Just like, I don't care if I get hit. I'm just going in there crazy, crazy, crazy. And I'm fighting my heart out, right? That's always my goal. Go fight your heart out. But the thing is, I have picked up a lot of skill over time, and I was very, very upset with myself, actually, to be honest with you, going into that fight just like balls to the walls, because I should have taken one round, because I can do that. I have the ability to do it. I can put the pedal on the gas very quickly. I do it without me even thinking, So I actually have to hold back a little bit and take a round to feel it out. See what my opponent has to give, and then for the next 4 rounds, take what I know, and then uh, you know, use it against them. So like, you'll see what someone has to give in one round, and then you can now say, okay, so what I'm gonna do is blah blah blah, and this is how I'm gonna finish this fight. So I should take a little step back, shouldn't go too crazy, just work my skill, take it down a couple notches, and then gradually build myself up. Because I know I'm gonna get there.
It must be such a tough thing to do in bare knuckle is to take a second and try to feel things out. It's not a format of fighting that necessarily lends itself to patience.
No, like for me, I've never fought any of my fights like that. I'm not that kind of fighter where I go in and I'm like reading you and then, popping it out at the right time. Like, but that's why I feel like I need to balance a little bit, because I can't just go in there wanting to get hit, because that one little hit in my eye, it was in my tear duct. That's why they stopped it. It cost me that entire fight. And it's not that I couldn't see, because I could. It's just that it's a very bad area, which I understand now, because my eye just thought it doesn't stop watering. It's like, I hope I don't have tears forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's as quickly as for bare knuckle they can stop a fight. So you actually don't want to just go in there crazy, crazy, because one cut in the wrong area and the fight, you don't get a chance. So yeah.
And yeah, like it's something when a bare knuckle fight starts, especially like the way that the ring is designed and everything, the other fighters that you're even matched up with, like that's got to be such a hard thing, but it's got to go such a long way if you take a second to, think about timing and think about what your opponent's doing. But like, yeah, a cut in that particular location, that sounds like that would cause some pretty immediate sensory overload.
Yeah, I would. What does that mean?
Like, if you have a cut right under your tear duct and you're bleeding and your eyes watering, it sounds like a lot to deal with, as opposed to like, just kind of the more run the mill cuts that people get in
Yeah,
fights.
it is. It's a lot to deal with, honestly. Like, I've been hit in my eye a lot in my fights. So when I feel like, oh, okay, my eyes a little bit fucked, I can't see much, but it's okay. I can fight with one eye. I've done that many times. But at the end of the day, I want to not get hit. I want to be able to move my head and use my timing and my distance and my skill that I've actually taken so much time to work on. I want to be able to execute that in a fight and display that, you know? So, yeah, I'm disappointed at myself because I know I can do better. And I do want that redemption, 100%. Because I feel with my new game plan and with my new coaches and the new training that I'm doing right now, I feel like I'm going to be a better version of myself next time.
And now I've seen throughout your entire combat sports career, you fought at atom weight once or twice. I know you fought at a catch weight of 110 pounds. Atom
Yeah.
weight is something I advocate for all the time because there's such a large pool of the world that is very talented that is competing at atom weight, but there's not as many opportunities for atom weight. They find it in Ryzen, you can find it in One.
Yeah.
But if you can make it work, and you can find a place to fight at atom weight. Invicta would be another one too, but but if you can find a place to actually fight and you can make it to atom weight, there is a smaller pool of people than there is at straw weight. And so, there is a more clear path to some bigger fights. So is returning to atom weight something that you ever think about? Is the cut too hard or what's up?
Oh no, I'm definitely like if BKFC had an atom weight division, I would be in it because I when I weigh in, I'm like 113 pounds. Like I don't even cut weight at ever for 115. I can easily make 110. I used to fight at 105, which I think the lowest I would go now is 110. Not because I can't go lower, but because I feel like I'll still be really strong at 110. So um if I have any MMA opportunities and any other striking opportunities, it's going to be at atom weight. I'm only fighting at 115 for BKFC because they don't have that. And let's take that into consideration that I am fighting girls that are actually technically bigger than me in BKFC,
I've definitely seen some fights of yours, like especially in MMA, where it looked like you were considerably smaller than your
Yeah.
opponent. And
Yeah.
like that's the thing about atom weight is, that's why it's so strong in Ryzen and in One. That particular part of the world is producing more people that fight at 105 pounds. There are
Yeah.
smaller people. And when India starts really like, because India's been coming up in MMA for a bit, but like
Yeah.
they've kind of they haven't yet gotten over like the hump, the plateau of being able to win some of those bigger fights. That'll come eventually.
Yeah.
If it does,
Yeah.
they'll be really good in those lower weight classes. And I'm a big fan of Ryzen. I
Me
really love the
too. Me
product.
too.
Love the product that Ryzen puts on.
Me too.
So
I won championship too. I think they're brilliant.
yeah,
And there's some amazing, phenomenal fighters. I'm just like obsessed because people are fighting so good.
entertainment wise, I don't know if there is another MMA promotion that tops Ryzen.
True,
And,
true.
and
I
the
agree with that.
and the
I
champions, the really good Ryzen fighters that have made their way to other promotions have had success, and we haven't necessarily seen that out of like Bellator and PFL.
agree. True.
So, Crystal, this has been a very entertaining conversation, very illuminating. Before we get out of here, if there's anything else you want to say or anybody you want to shout out, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you to my sponsors, HKA. You guys are always looking out for me and they make the best gear. They always do my fight outfits. And I'm like eternally grateful that I have such an awesome merch team behind me. And then also Fran Hask Law Group. They've always supported me and backed me. I just want to say thank you to them. Smith Brothers. Flowers Gym in Port Richey. They've been helping me. I'm just so grateful for everybody in my team. And yes, appreciate your time and hope to hear from you soon.
Folks, this has been another interlude episode of the Tap That MMA podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at RotoBrady, on Instagram at RotoBrady MMA. Follow the podcast on YouTube at Tap That MMA podcast. Look out for the new home of it on Spotify and Apple Music and whatnot coming up soon. I'll have a bunch of announcements. Check out the recent interlude episodes too. We've had a bunch of great ones here, just all in a row. And tonight with me has been the lovely Crystal Van Wyck. Crystal, thank you so much for being here. Folks, thank you so much for listening. Have a great night and peace.